The list is long, but hopefully there's room for one more inclusion on the worst takes I've ever seen. Florida mayor calls Ron DeSantis a dictator for blocking coronavirus restrictions. For saying that somebody doesn't need to do something, that is what? That makes him a dictator for saying that somebody and a group of people don't have to do something? That's mind-numbingly stupid. That is the Velcro shoe-wearing, helmet-bedecked take of the century, at least for right now. Mayor Carlos Hernandez, the Republican. Interesting. Just goes to show you that every Republican in Florida are not cut from the same cloth. Mayor of Hialeah in Florida's Miami-Dade County described Governor Ron DeSantis as a dictator for blocking local officials from implementing stringent coronavirus restrictions, an assertion the governor's team dismissed as absurd. Because it is. Like, there are certain themes and certain policies you need to follow in order to be a dictator, and I think right at the top of that is not allowing people the freedom of choice. I feel like what this dude, Carlos Hernandez, get a more original name, my guy, what he's describing doesn't quite match up. He's a dictator, the mayor said of DeSantis. It's a shame because we're paying the price. Really? Are you one of those bots who are out there saying, I've just been to the hospital and our ICU is getting slammed right now? Yeah, just go ahead and fucking type that into Twitter and see how many of the exact same fucking tweets come down. Yeah, it's definitely organic. Christina Pushaw, press secretary for the governor rather, dismissed the assertion as ridiculous. I think I could probably poke some holes in it, but let's see. Ridiculous for anyone to call Governor DeSantis a dictator. According to the Washington Post, ugh. Since when do dictators prioritize individual rights over the unchecked expansion of government power? Exactly. Straight and to the point. She added that DeSantis can use executive powers in the event of local officials overstepping their bounds and infringing on individuals' rights. Yup, it's just unfortunate that he's fighting an uphill battle because the federal government, at least the Board of Education, the Secretary of Education himself, I forget his name, it doesn't really much matter, said that he's going to reimburse anybody who has their funding stripped of them due to different mandates from Arizona, Texas, Florida, all across the country, who are saying that, yeah, schools and school boards don't need to enforce strict mask mandates because science, yeah, it doesn't really check out. So if you go ahead and enforce all of that kind of shit, you're going to have your state funding stripped. And then, of course, the Federal Board of Education, being the indoctrineers that they are, said that, yeah, don't worry, you can go ahead and enforce all of the mask mandates you want, and any of the money that you're out, don't worry, we got your back on that one. And yeah, as if this fucking word or this endorsement really means anything in today's day and age, especially over the past 48 hours or such. Biden thanks school superintendents for defying mask bans on mandates. Great. President Joe Biden has commended a pair of school superintendents from Florida and Arizona for enacting mask mandates in defiance of statewide bans, according to the White House. In separate calls on August 13th, the president spoke to Chad Jestin. I want that name back. Take it back. You're Beta Brad. You're not a Chad. Superintendent of the Phoenix Union High School kids. Okay, yeah, this will go over well. And Vicky Cartwright, interim superintendent of Broward County Public Schools. Yeah, we talked about her extensively as well. And then, yeah, that all just coincides with everything else that we've been talking about lately with, yeah, little local mandates filling the void of just dropping a massive overarching federal mandate for vaccines or masks. So it's just going to fall on the courts, okay? And thankfully, they really stepped up in this case. In Texas, talked about this briefly, where one of the lower courts said that, no, it's fine. But then the Supreme Court was like, no, it's really not fine. The Texas Supreme Court on August 15th granted an emergency stay to Governor Greg Abbott over his ban on mask mandates. It overrides lower court rulings that allowed Dallas and Bexar counties to temporarily enable the mask mandate locally, despite the Republican governor's order that barred government entities and officials from doing so. Abbott said at the time that Texans, not the government, should decide their best health practices. Exactly. That's not been taken off the table. It's not by saying that local governments cannot enforce mask mandates doesn't mean that you can't wear a mask if you're a paranoid asshole. That's totally up to you if you want to do that. Go ahead. Nobody's stopping you. You're just trying to do the exact opposite. You just want to remove choice. You're being the dictator that some uninformed, some low information motherfuckers out there want to push. And unfortunately, yeah, mask mandates, while they're annoying, it's not as bad as what is also coming out on the horizon, because they're just going to keep on trying to just put fucking masks back on everybody's faces in perpetuity, forever. Whether you're outside, inside, upside, downside, it really doesn't much matter to these fucking freaks. They just want you to be wearing a mask. They just want you to be doing whatever they tell you to do at all fucking times of the day. And now, when it comes to getting a new job, if you're one of these people who want to stand up to this fucking tyranny, well, applying for a new job is going to require you to show your papers, because as it's showing here, sharp rise in job postings stipulating vaccine requirements. Yay, the number of job openings posted on the Indeed hiring platform stipulating COVID-19 vaccines as a condition of employment has risen sharply in recent weeks, including popping up in sectors with a little interpersonal contact, according to the company's research arm. That's great. Work from home, get the jab, because eventually your guys are going to come in close contact with one another. We're going to have staff meetings, and we don't want to make sure that any one person is not vaccinated, because if you get the vaccine and one person isn't vaccinated, and even if they aren't sick or anything, they can still... Okay, fine, fuck it. Your science kind of falls apart. The share of job postings per million explicitly mentioning COVID-19 vaccine requirements rose 34% in the week ending August 7th compared to the same period last month, according to the analytical note by Anne Elizabeth Conkle, an economist at Indeed Hiring Lab, the Research and Insight Division of the Indeed job site, which is, I think it's the biggest job bank in the world. I'm not entirely sure, though, but it's right up there. It's one of the big players. In line with the same trend, the share of job postings broadly requiring vaccines, but not specifically mentioning COVID-19, the disease caused by the China virus, surged by an over-the-month 90%. Great. Employers are well aware that COVID-19, the fear of it, it's more or less just the latter here, the fear of it and restrictions against it dampen economic activity, and some are not only encouraging vaccination among employees, but are now requiring it. Yup, it's my private business. They can do whatever they want. Like, they got some specific numbers here, but it seems as though some of this is still in the minority, but I doubt it's going to stay in the minority. And especially when you look at this stuff, this is just fucking downright stupid. For example, the share of software development postings requiring vaccinations rose by more than 10,000% in February and July of this year to 437.9 job postings per million from 3.5 job postings per million. Again, right, it's kind of like all of these, my different side effects from the jab, and gotta get some more news before I can share any personal details on some things, but let's just say those rare instances of side effects are becoming less and less rare, and we'll leave it at that, I suppose. But yeah, that's a lot, but then at the end of the day, it's still like 1% out there. But these are the people that are just being explicit about it, okay? And this is also just one job bank, but it's still something to note, because this is how all this stuff starts. It all starts down here in the gestative period, and it eventually sprouts, and then it just becomes a part of everyday life, and everybody just has to fucking agree to it. Well, I'm not about to agree to it. I find this story pretty funny as well, because, if I have to travel or anything, which I know my future is not in the city of Grand Prairie, Alberta. I love Alberta, okay? I've been very vocal and very open about it. There's no more diverse, and I use this in the best sense of the term, more diverse landscape that you'll find, or that you're likely to find in, well, not just all of Canada, really in a lot of the world, okay? You got mountains, you've got lakes, you got foothills, you got the tundras, you've got beautiful forested areas. It is a gorgeous fucking place. It has been run extremely well for the most part in the grand scheme of things. Taxes for Canada, relatively low. There is no provincial sales tax at the moment, and all in all, I really like it here. But staying in Canada long term, oh my God, especially looking at everything that's going on right now, I can't foresee myself being here in my mid to late 30s. I can't see myself being here for a whole hell of a lot longer. And with interprovincial travel being regulated now with vaccine passports outside of just driving your ass from one end of the country to the other, For right now, I'm sure that's liable to change after they realize that, oh, we gave you guys the chance, the cases are still going up in Lambda or whatever fucking variants around at the time. Canada and Trudeau, more specifically, doesn't quite have the exact same shame that a lot of other governments around the world, so they would just absolutely fucking bend you over a table and stick a needle in your ass. So hopefully I can avoid that fate. I'll go down fighting. Guarantee it. But I might need to get my hands on a vaccination record card or whatever the fuck is going on, because no, I don't have a smartphone or anything. I'm going to need to have a physical copy of this. Yeah, definitely, 100%. I hate my phone anyways. If it wasn't for the fact that my place doesn't have a landline, I probably wouldn't have a functioning phone anyways. I just mostly use it for music, and then whenever it's connected to Wi-Fi for fucking podcasts or whatever. So realistically, you don't really need it for phone or communication purposes anyways, so whatever. But that's how all of these vaccine passports are going to be applied anyways. It's just going to be an app that you can download so that your local government, your federal government, your state, your provincial government can track you at all times. And I find it funny where you'd have your physical paperwork, and I'm in a place where, yeah, a lot of people don't have cell phones, don't have reliable internet, and can't really download an app or anything like that. It's true up here in northern Alberta, there's a lot of small, tiny communities where local internet is still at the speed of like fucking dial-up or glorified cable. It's still not that common in a bunch of rural areas. It's getting better, but the need for physical media and the need for physical vaccine passports for these people who live in like little fucking tiny hamlets, like fucking Brownvale or Blue Sky. Those are real places, by the way. They don't get very good cell reception. They would need physical passport or physical fucking vaccine passports if we get to that point. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully enough people push back. I'm not optimistic about that for other reasons, but we're going to have a whole host of fucking content out here today, so we're just going to try to keep this as short as possible. It's funny because China, the origin where this fucking virus came out, is now trying to make a buck on the vaccine cards. Oh my god. I understand it's probably not the same people who, we'll go with discovered the virus, are probably printing these cards at the same time. I don't think that they're the same people, but they're an industrious bunch now, aren't they? More than 3,000 fake COVID-19 vaccination cards from China have been seized by federal agents in Memphis, Tennessee, en route to other cities in the United States. Fucking Border Patrol. Why don't you be catching things that aren't shaped like cards and are much more shaped like, I don't know, Mexicans? Caught a shipment from Shenzhen, China to New Orleans that contained 51 blank counterfeit vaccination cards, CPB said in a statement on August 13th. It was the 15th such shipment of the night. The FBI stated on March 13th that buying, selling, or using counterfeit COVID-19 vaccination cards is a crime. Which crime is that exactly? Or is this just the FBI, the most useless institution in the entire fleet of federal agencies? Just make it up. That sounds about their speed anyways, so I wouldn't put it past them. But yeah, it looks like the courts are trying to fight back, but at the same time, you always got to keep your eye on the local officials and, I don't know, use the means that are available to you in order to fight the good fight, because the only way that we get out of this is by using the different means in order to enact the change we want to see. Thank God maybe all the Taliban talk and all the Afghanistan fallout has really slowed the coup rhetoric for a day. But who knows, these motherfuckers are super nefarious, so they're probably plotting something in the back rooms which we're going to have to contend with by the end of the week. Hopefully I'm wrong. Very doubtful, though. With that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Catch y'all later.